Yes, hello everyone. This is Chimuli Julius, your teacher of social studies. Once again, to take you through yet another lesson. Remember, we are in a peri-COVID. We are in a period of this pandemic, COVID. And it's unfortunate that we have started registering deaths. Now they are about to 5. That means let's be very cautious. Let's keep safe. Wash hands with the soap very well. Wear mask whenever you are going anywhere. Make sure that you are safe. Basically, make sure that you are safe. Stay at home. Today, we are going to look at something different but related to climate. We are going to see the influence of climate in different climatic regions. To begin with is equatorial climatic region. What does equatorial climate mean? What does equatorial climatic region mean? Think about it as we move on. I'm giving you just a few seconds to think about it. What is equatorial climatic region? First of all, do you know where the equatorial climatic region is found? All those are questions to ask ourselves as we move on. Anyway, what is it, friends? These are places that experience hot and wet conditions throughout the year. Equatorial climate is described as being hot and wet throughout the year. These areas are very hot because of the too much sunshine that is received. 2, they receive plenty of rainfall. That's why we say they are wet throughout the year. Being that the sun rays are very strong that heat water bodies around, evaporation takes place, and even transpiration through leaves, and eventually the water vapor reaches the condensation level, and eventually a lot of rainfall is received. Hold on a bit. So the conditions are very hot and wet throughout the year. And where is this region found? It lies between 0 degree to 5 degrees. North, this is the grammatical representation of the equator line, 0 degree, which is labeled 0 degree. So this type of climate, or this climatic region, is found just along this one, and then by, up to 5 degrees north, and up to 5 degrees south. How big is a degree? A degree is really big. 1 degree is 69 miles. 1 degree is 69 miles. Therefore, from here to Jinja, from Kampala to Jinja, is just 50 miles. That means it's less than a degree. So a degree is something very big. Therefore, when we talk about equatorial climatic region, it's something very, very huge because it covers a distance of 5 degrees, either north or south of the equator. All the areas in that stretch are said to experience equatorial climate. Therefore, the equatorial climatic region is. Now, this is the map of the world, as you can see. So the equator crosses South America from here, Africa from here, as it moves. It's an imaginary line. It's not tangible. It is not visible, but it is realized by its effects. So these are the continents through which it passes, and that experience equatorial climate, which is hot and wet throughout the year. There are various countries of Africa that experience equatorial climate. So all these countries through which the equator passes, that are found along the equator by, from 0 to 5 degrees, of course, they are crossed by, they experience equatorial climate. Therefore, they are equatorial climatic regions. Countries that experience, we have this country, Uganda, we have Kenya, some part of Somalia also experiences equatorial climate. Democratic Republic of Congo, we have Republic of Congo, we have Gabon, we have Nigeria. Nigeria is also experiences it, Ghana, Tanzania, Kenya, and other countries, so long as they stretch up to 5 degrees north or south of the equator. All those countries are said to be hot and wet. They receive too much heat because the sun hits them directly, being that they are along the equator. And as a result, there is a lot of humid conditions in the sky, where, most especially where there are water bodies and the thick forests. Eventually, condensation takes place and a lot of rainfall is received. Too much heat and at the same time, plenty of rainfall throughout the year. The question is, we are looking at how climate influences activities carried out in different regions. And for this case, we are looking at how equatorial climate affects activities done. How does it determine the activities done in that region, which stretches from 0 to 5 degrees, either north or south of the equator? This is how it does it. There are different activities carried out. If it is farming, it affects it in a way that, equatorial climate affects it in a way that it receives plenty of rainfall, a lot of rainfall that enables crops get a lot of water in order to grow well. Just as you can see, these areas receive plenty of rainfall. And being that these areas still receive plenty of rainfall, there are very many possibilities of having large water bodies like lakes and some big rivers. Now, where there are rivers, there is another economic activity that takes place. Not one. Fishing is done. Transport is done. Tourism. Therefore, what brings all about these activities in the equatorial region? The plenty of rainfall determines most of them. There are different activities that are carried out in the equatorial climatic region, as I've said. Being that the area receives plenty of rainfall, there are lakes, there are large water bodies, and the soil itself favors the growth of crops. Now, let's look at the activities that are carried out in equatorial climatic region. Remember, we are looking at that equatorial climate, which stretches from 0 degree to 5 degrees north or south of the equator. And I've said that a degree is something very big. It covers a distance of 69 miles. That means from here to Jinja, from Kampala to Jinja, you have not gone beyond 1 degree. In fact, it's less than a degree, because from here to Jinja, they're just 50 miles. So we have to cover another stretch of 19 to make a full degree, which is 1 degree. Therefore, all these areas where we are located experience equatorial climate. Therefore, they are equatorial climatic regions. However, some of them may have different kinds of climate depending on what's found. For example, there are those ones in this stretch but have mountains. In those places where there are mountains, of course, they experience mountain climate. Therefore, the condition is there are cool and wet throughout the year. So you can find another type of climate in another type of climate. Just as in equatorial climate, where there are mountains, we can experience a mountain climate. Therefore, those areas where the mountains are particularly found are said to experience mountain climatic condition. Therefore, are cool and wet throughout the year. Activities that are carried out in the equatorial climatic region. Members, which ones do you think? But we have already copied because I've already shown you the list. My technician has cheated for you. All right. You know, sometimes cheating may be inevitable. We go. Farming is one of them. What's farming? That's the growing of crops and rearing of animals. It has different systems, it has different types. But basically, when you look at farming, we look at rearing of animals and growing of crops. In this region, rearing of animals is very possible because animals have got a lot of pasture to feed on. Two, and a lot of water. On the other hand, to do with the crop growing, such areas receive plenty of rainfall. Those areas receive a lot of rainfall, which enables crops to grow very well. Most crops require a lot of water in order to grow very well. And here you'll find that crops that need a lot of water are commonly grown here, as we shall see. There is tourism. What's tourism? Tourism is the act of visiting interesting places for pleasure, for leisure, for education, and so on. Other people may visit different areas just to have rest. And that can be done within a country, your country, that's national tourism. It can also be done across your country's borders, that's international tourism. So tourism takes place, why? Because they are water bodies, they are lakes and rivers. Guess what? You have ever seen them, you have ever gone, you have ever visited, for example, the source of the Nile, you have ever visited, you have ever seen Lake Victoria, and many other features. Forests, you have ever gone to Mabira, I remember, I've ever taken you there. And so, there are lots of things to see, therefore, that attract people to go and see. Alternatively, they could be studying about them, they want to see what they look like, and so on. Therefore, those areas are potential. They are potential areas for tourism. Therefore, being one of the activities that are carried out in that equatorial climatic region. Still, due to presence of too much rainfall, because we are moving in line with that region being hot and wet throughout the year, it causes a lot of things, such as a lot of rainfall, which influences sometime back the formation of lakes. And there are very many forests that go, and all those are potential areas that attract tourists. Therefore, tourism being one of the activities that are carried out in the region. Next is lumbering. How does the equatorial climate influence lumbering? What's lumbering? Is the first question to ask yourselves. Those of you who have dictionaries, you can check right now and see. Look up the meaning of the word lumbering. I'm just giving you just a few seconds, about 5. You should be experienced in opening and looking up those words. What does the term lumbering mean? All right, as you generate answers you get answers from the dictionary, I can help you. Lumbering is the felling. The felling. To fell is to make something fall down. So that's the felling of trees, and for this case, only mature ones. Don't you cut a small one and you think that is lumbering. With lumbering, actually, mature trees are cut, are felled for commercial purposes. Being that this equatorial climatic region receives plenty of rainfall, it gives a chance to forests to grow very well. And you find that in natural forests, you find that trees are very huge. You find thick forests, like a Mabira forest, Budongo forest, they have thick trees that people fell or that people cut down for commercial purposes, for timber and some other things. But what enables lumbering to take place? The presence of rainfall. Due to the hot and wet conditions received or experienced in the region. Therefore, lumbering being one of the activities that are carried out in the equatorial climatic region. Fourth, there is fishing. Do you still remember, friends, what fishing means? Right from P4, you have been learning about that. In P5, in P6, so I think nobody can fail to tell the meaning of the term fishing. What is it? To help you, fishing is the trapping, the catching of fish, of aquatic life, aquatic animals from water. And for this case, We are not basically much interested in other water animals. Like frogs, no. We are much interested in fish. That's why we basically give the definition as the trapping of fish or the catching of fish from water bodies, because we are not interested in the other likes. Still, what makes it possible for this fishing to be carried out? The presence of water bodies. Those are lakes and rivers. What brings about those lakes and rivers? That too much rainfall received. You know, those features formed long ago. Some were formed by downwarping, for that case, the basin lakes. Others were, Rift Valley lakes by faulting and the like. But then, what enabled them get filled with water? The plenty of water, the plenty of rainfall received in the region. Therefore, equatorial climate plays a very vital role in these activities that are carried out there. Next is boat making. As we hear boat making, it's the making of boats. What are boats used for? Think about it. Where are boats used? Think about it. As you all get ready to give me the answer, let me chip in something. This is the making of boats. Where do boats move? Boats move on water. That's why they are not common in these places of ours. They are used on water. And we have some water bodies where you can easily access them. Lake Victoria, you go to Portobello, you see boats. However, what makes boat making possible? The presence of thick forests from which trees are felled. Trees are felled to make boats. For example, we have, there are some forests that are commonly known for generating timber that used to make boats. I believe you have ever heard of the coastal plains. Coastal plains are those low-lying stretches of land at the coast. That land, low-lying land at the coast, near the ocean. There is that vegetation which grows there, which is good for boat making. Those trees produce waterproof timber. That waterproof timber is used in the making of boats. It's good in a way that water does not enter, therefore causing sinking and the like. All in all, what makes boat making possible? The availability of thick forests from which timber is got once felled, and then boats can be made. Another one is mining. These areas are also potential mining areas. We have a number of minerals that are carried, are mined from that region. There is also industrialization. Being that these areas have fish and a lot of other things like timber, there are industries that are set up. And those industries are set up to produce a number of things. And what does this imply? That's the setting up of industries in an area. Being that these areas are sources of a number of raw materials like fish, there are potential areas for growing crops. There are industries that process all that work on them. Therefore, putting it up as an economic activity or as an activity that takes place or that is carried out in the equatorial climatic region. There's also trading, where there are industries. A lot of things are manufactured, goods are manufactured. What does that mean? Here, crops are grown. Tourism takes place. You come, you pay money, you see what you want to see. Numbering is done. you get timber, you pay money, trading takes place. However, there are other activities apart from these few we have mentioned here. Members, please try to think about them. Think about other activities. These are not the only ones. Think about it. This is lumbering, this is crop growing, this is fishing taking place. These people, actually they are whites. They came from their countries to see what takes place in Africa. For that case, they were viewing vegetation. I can see a forest. So forests are very important as they attract tourism, tourists rather. And it's because of the equatorial climatic region that has those factors that influence vegetation growth that those people come to see. Boat making, that's how a boat is made. Industrialization taking place, mining taking place here, and here, trading. Those are just pics to show you how those activities are carried out. We move on. There are different activities, there are different crops that are carried out in the equatorial climatic region. I remember I've told you that that's an area that stretches from 0 to 5 degrees north or south of the equator. These are some of the activities, and these are some of the crops grown. Here, basically, both perennial and annual crops are grown. But now, being that these annual crops can be grown anywhere, therefore, these plantation ones, these perennial ones take the first priority in equatorial climatic region because the others can be grown anywhere, okay? But these ones are special in a way that they require plenty of rainfall. In areas that don't have a lot of rainfall, that don't receive a lot of rainfall, cannot grow well. Therefore, here we give them the first priority. We have coffee, we have cocoa, we have rubber, we have tea, we have bananas, we have sugarcane, vanilla. To mention but a few, can you think of other perennial crops that do well in areas that receive plenty of rainfall? For that case, the equatorial climatic region. There are images of these crops. Unfortunately, some of you don't go to villages and you don't know what these crops look like. Guess what? Which crop is this? But I've already cheated for you. That is coffee. That's what coffee looks like. We move on to another crop. I guess the majority of you have never seen cocoa. You just enjoy chocolate, forgetting that's made from cocoa. You have never seen. This is what it looks like when it's ripe. When it's not ripe, it's reddish maroon, is some kind of maroon. That's when it's still raw, but this is a ripe one. We move on to another crop. There is rubber. Rubber is got from trees. Trees are planted. Tree seedlings are planted, they grow, and after some time, when time for harvesting comes, the bark is cut. This milky substance that is trapped, that you can see here, is called latex. So this crop grows very well in the equatorial climatic region. In areas that don't receive plenty of rainfall, you can never grow those crops. Therefore, the equatorial climatic region favors, influences the kinds of crops that are grown there. We move on to another crop. This is the tea. Those of you who have ever gone to Jinja, to Mukono, you saw what tea looks like, or what tea looked like. You saw? This is it. It is harvested by hand picking. These are bananas. I guess you know these because most of you have them at home. For those of you who thought that maybe they come from pawpaw plants, no. Bananas are got from banana plants, as you can see. Sugarcane, you like eating sugarcane. This is it. This is vanilla. Some of you have never seen vanilla plants. It used to be on market in Uganda, but because of price irregularities, the prices went down, and people today no longer grow it on a large scale. However, there are some areas that there are some areas in which this crop is grown very well. Those are some of the annual crops that can also be grown in the region. However, being that we said that for them can grow anywhere, usually I always recommend you to begin with the other perennials, because they can't grow anywhere apart from those areas that receive plenty of rainfall. For that case, in the equatorial climatic region and maybe the tropical climatic regions. Let's remind ourselves, what enables fishing to take place in the equatorial climatic region? Please generate answers. You can jot down something as your answer. What favors fishing in the equatorial climatic region? What makes the coffee cultivation possible in the equatorial climatic region? You know, we have discussed all these things. Can you mention activities that are carried out there in the equatorial climatic region? Can you mention activities, crops that are carried out, that are grown in the equatorial climatic region? Do you know what the term lumbering means? Wow. Generate those answers, we shall discuss. Yeah. We are ending here. However, we have an activity that we are going to do as everything is projected. The question is, are there? Friends, this is the assignment that you are going to write. We shall review it in the next lesson. I love you very much. Thank you so much for listening to me.